to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we are in our second week of the Shrouded Spoils update, and man, I am so enjoying this. We're going to cover a few things about this update as well as some content coming out from the community and what I think of some of the stuff that is still to be released. Some spoiled stuff. All that and more on this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. First up on today's docket, let's cover the dev update video that we got this last week. Now, we are in the second week of of the Shrouded Spoils update, and so far, things have been great. This has probably been one of the most entertaining and exciting updates to the game, because essentially what we're doing is ramping up every single update that we've had in the past. So, Megs, Karens, skeleton ships, they're all ramped up. Forts are ramped up. The only thing that is not ramped up, and seems to be something that people aren't as excited about, is the Devil's Roar. In fact, a lot of people are saying that the Devil's Roar is just a little too easy now. So, one of the things that Joe Neat talks about in this update video is the fact that they are looking at the feedback as well as the timing and frequency of the volcanoes, making sure that they can kind of fine-tune, find that perfect balance between how much time you spend on an island and how often it erupts, how often you're getting attacked by the volcano, as well as how deadly the volcanoes are going to be. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they end up doing this, but I do imagine they'll probably scale it up just a hair so that it's not as easy to sail around in the Devil's Roar for now. That being said, if you are one of those few folks that likes to get gold easily, I highly recommend that you use this time until the next update when they change the tuning of the Devil's Roar to really spend some time out there and get some gold, because the chests out there are still much higher value than you're going to find in the regular seas. That being said, I understand that not many people want to go to the Devil's Roar. There's no forts out there, so you can't go out and take down skeleton forts to get those powder kegs for the doubloons. So what I recommend is try to get as much of the doubloons set as you can. When you get sick of doing skeleton forts, head out to the Devil's Roar and start working on Order Souls and Gold Hoarders. Those are going to be the best for you to be able to get as much gold as possible. Because remember, the time-limited campaign stuff, this update is just the Wailing Barnacle set, just the stuff from Duke. So if you get the doubloons enough to be able to buy the Wailing Barnacle set and you're tired of grinding out the commendations, those are going to stay post launch. So don't worry about necessarily having to get all of them done at once. You can do them at your leisure. People will eventually get these done and then move on to other parts of the world. So it's going to be more likely that as time goes on, you're going to run into fewer and fewer contested forts. So far, I've had a lot of success over in the Devil's Roar. I have been going out to do skeleton forts, and those have been a lot of fun. In fact, I think one of my favorite things currently is grabbing a sloop, going out for about a half hour to an hour and waiting for a skeleton ship or a Megalodon to attack me. Maybe go find a shipwreck or drop a voyage down and just go do one or two islands and just see how much loot I can get in that much time. And so far, it's been a lot. In fact, just before I started recording the episode, I decided to jump in to check something out as far as the commendations for the Overachiever Sales, which I'm going to talk about later on in the episode. Don't worry, I'm going to go into some full detail about that. But I get in there and I jump into sloop. Don't grab any supplies. I'm not really expecting to really go too much. All I want to do is be able to go out, get a shipwrecked chest from one of the shipwrecks out in the ocean and turn it in just to see if anything changed or if anything popped, because it does kind of deal with the Overachiever Sales. So I threw down an Gold Hoarders Voyage, a level 50 Gold Hoarders Voyage, and then I went over to Sunken Grove and started working on digging up chests, because I wanted to get one captain's chest as well to be able to test this out, just to kind of make sure that whatever was going on with the Overachiever Sales, see if there was anything that let me know that I was was still eligible. So as I'm doing that, I grab a voyage from one of the barrels, and it turns out to be a powder keg quest to turn in over to the merchants at the Daggertooth outpost. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is good. This kind of hits three different achievements that are not achievements. They're not technically achievements. They're commendations, but hit some of those commendations so that I can just make sure that I kind of solidify my chances of being able to get some of these sales. So as I'm on Sunken Grove, I'm digging up these chests and I'm waiting for a powder keg skeleton to pop up. And none of them are powder keg skeletons. It's probably the weirdest luck I've ever had as far as not having any problems getting up these chests. So the first shipwreck I go to, right outside of Galleon's Grave, has nothing in it. There's two skulls, and I'm like, okay, well that's fine. I'll just keep moving over to Sunken Grove. I go over to Sunken Grove, I dig up all the chests, and now I'm sitting on the beach staring around, waiting for powder keg skeletons to pop. And finally, after about 10 minutes, I kill other skeletons that spawn. And, none of them, of course, have any powder kegs for me. And I eventually get one, but he gets so close to the point where I have to back up, and he doesn't actually defuse his bomb by the time I get him killed, and his blows up in the water. And I was kind of bummed about that. So I'm sitting on the beach, and I'm just kind of thinking to myself as I'm staring. It's quiet on the server. There's no other ships in sight. There's no ghost galleons about, and I'm just playing some music to see if maybe I could actually spawn something. And eventually, I just kind of sit down and I realize, man, this game is beautiful. I'm in the wilds, guys. I shouldn't be saying this about the wilds, but man, it's nice. It's serene. It's quiet. I can hear some of the animals around me. There's the pigs running, and the snakes are being charmed right now as I'm playing music. And the music it's soothing, And I realize that this is the game. This is the game that really kind of pulls you in and gives you an opportunity to get away from the rest of the world. It gets you away from that competitive field to need to have to constantly worry about headshots or, how many stim packs you have, or, am I doing an optimal rotation on my mage in a raid? You don't have to worry about getting, axed from across the room. It's one of those games that you can just really enjoy. You can just kind of immerse yourself in this pirate fantasy, and I was just having a really good time with that. So as I was kind of sitting there playing music, and I finally kind of snapped out of it as I started to hear a couple cursed skeletons pop up from the ground. I heard that distinct sound when one of the powder kegs just popped up, and I get him. I kill off the Eye of Reach skeleton that accompanied him, and I take the powder keg as well as a few chests that I scoured from the island, including the 4 that I grabbed from the quest, and a gold pig. And I just kind of place them all around the gold pig, and I think to myself, nobody puts pig in a corner. And I start to set sail over to Daggertooth Outpost. As I get over there, I drop anchor, and I kind of get cozied up to the actual dock, and I start dropping things off and turning them into the merchant and the Order of Souls and the gold hoarder. And as I'm looking out, I'm thinking, I didn't ever get that sunken chest. I never got that actual barnacled chest out there. So I was like, okay, well, let me take a look around and see if maybe there's something around that I can actually, another shipwreck, possibly. Something I'd have a better chance of actually finding one of those shipwreck chests. And I look out and I see over by Shipwreck Bay, there's another set of seagulls up in the air. And it's a heavy few, so I know it's got to be a shipwreck. And I jump over to my ship and I get merged. The server merge hits, and I'm thinking to myself, crap, there goes that shipwreck. And sure enough, as soon as the message disappears on the screen, I look out back to Shipwreck Bay, and it is gone. Devastating. So I think, okay. I got a little time. I'm thinking maybe I could probably find it. It's a new server. The skull that was just over there is gone. I take a look around. I go out to the end of the dock, and I pull out my spyglass, and I'm looking around, and I'm just kind of scanning the horizon, looking to see if maybe somewhere, hopefully there'll be another shipwreck. I almost make it a full 360 before I finally, over by Hidden Springs Keep, I see the back end, the aft of a galleon sticking out of the water, indicating that it's a shipwreck. And I'm thinking, yes, perfect. So I grab my sloop and I raise the anchor and I start to head around the dock and I start to sail out there. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm starting to kind of ponder some of the thoughts about what I want to talk about with the podcast, some of the things I want to cover. And I finally make it out to the shipwreck. as I jump into the shipwreck, I go down inside and I start grabbing a couple supplies just for kicks. I'm not really planning anything. I just wanted to see if maybe it had a chest in there. And down on the bottom deck, right down by where the brig is, I passed up in an Ashen Marauder's chest and a skull to check the back of the ship. And sure enough, there's a sunken, barnacled captain's chest. And I'm just elated. I'm so excited. I'm like, yes, thank you. Good. I just wanted to see this one little thing just to see if it was going to do anything, because I already have grade 5 in these achievements, all these commendations. I have already gotten my titles for them. I just want to make sure that I get one over just for these Achiever Sales. Again, I'm going to go into that later on. But I pull up all the treasure and I throw it onto the top deck of my sloop. And I look to the sky and I notice the wind is blowing east. And I'm thinking, well, there's a storm over by Sanctuary, and I haven't been over there, so I don't know who's over there, if anyone, and I don't know if it's going to take longer for me to sail back over to Daggertooth since it's with the wind, or over to Sanctuary since it's in the wind. So I decide I'll just turn around. I'll turn around and I'll go back to Daggertooth. I'm familiar. There's no one over there. It should be quick. So I about face, I get the sloop headed, and the sails full billow, and it's beautiful. It just feels so good. Finally get some wind. And I start kind of going back into my mind, and I just keep thinking, you know, like some of the different things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Devil's Roar. I want to talk about the Bone Crusher Cannon. I want to talk about the Overachiever stuff. And for sure, there's been a lot of stuff that I got from other people out in the community that I want to, and out of nowhere, a skeleton ship spawns on me. And and it's not one of those ones that's just out and about. It's one of those ones that's just like, no. You're dealing with us right now. And I'm like, crap, I don't have any supplies. I just have what I have in my hands. And then what was on the ship when I first got in. I mean, I haven't even done anything since I started out on Galleon's Grave. I've already been server merged once. I mean, okay, all right, I guess we're doing this. So I'm still full tilt into the wind, going towards Daggertooth. My goal is I'm going to try and hit Daggertooth as quickly as possible, but I know this thing isn't going to despawn like a Megalodon. It's just going to stay there. So I'm laying in shots, and I'm dumping as many cannons into the side of this galleon, and it's laying a few shots into me, but it's nothing that I'm too worried about, because I know that I can handle a couple cannonballs onto a sloop. I can do a couple buckets, and I'll be fine. It won't be that bad. And then I get hit with a cursed cannonball, and it's an anchor ball. And I stop dead in my tracks. I'm in the middle of the ocean. I have hardly any supplies, just what I spawned with. And this galleon is now circling around me, and I have barely anything. So I figure, okay, well, if I'm lucky, it won't hit me all the time. I'll get some of these holes filled up. I'll get some of the water bailed, and then I'll get my cannon ready. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait it out. I'm just going to shoot them with as many cannons as I can and hope that they hit me with another cursed cannonball so it'll raise my anchor for me, instead of trying to possibly get the anchor raised up and just get hit in the head by a eye of reach skeleton or a lucky cannon shot. And it works out. It works out beautifully. I managed to wait it out. I put a couple more holes into them, get some more water into their ship, and they circle around me, and they hit me with a cursed cannonball, and my anchor goes up. My sails are still down, and I blast forward into the wind. It's so great. I'm heading towards Daggertooth, and as I'm heading towards Daggertooth, I look behind me, and the galleon is on my tail. In fact, it's so on my tail that it actually outpaces me, and with the wind, it actually rams me from behind, pushing me out of the way. But I'm close to Daggertooth. They get stuck. They ram the rocks on the south side of the island. And now on the west side of Daggertooth Outpost, they are locked in place. They are stuck between the dock and the rocks that they hit, and they can't move. So I think this is great. I raise up my sail, and I get in position, and I start dropping every single cannonball I have into their hull, hoping that it's enough to sink this thing, and I can just grab the treasure right there. Nah, I don't have enough. I'm out. The last cannonball sinks into them, and they're still standing. And I think to myself, well, this is it. I don't think they're going anywhere, and I'm stuck here, and I can't do anything until I get them out of the way. So I jump into the water, and I grab my bucket, and I think this is going to take a while, but it's got to be done. I start bucketing water onto the deck, one after one after one. I start looking at the sun, and the sun's starting to set. It's been hours. I've been hours in this water just treading. I've killed a couple sharks. I've been trying to see if I can do anything. I climb up the ladder, I kill a couple skeletons, and I check their deck. They're almost full, but it's going to take a lot longer. So I jump back into the water, and I start bucketing more water onto their deck. They don't know what to do. They're stuck. They can't do anything. They can't bucket. There's no holes to fill. These skeletons are wandering aimlessly, straggling to anything they can to try and figure out what to do. A couple of them look over the side of the ship and try and aim at me, but realize that it's futile. Just keep throwing water onto the deck. After a long time passes, I hear the kraken. The sun is about to rise. And finally I hear the gong, the sound that everyone knows when a galleon has sunk. And I think, great. The ship slowly starts to slide back into the water. I get back to my ship and I start looking around. The coast is clear. It's a quiet night. The sun starts to rise, and I can see the sun hitting the glint of the treasure as it floats to the surface. And I jump in. It's a skeleton's captain's chest. It is literally Fort Loot. I've got an ashen chest. I've got another sunken chest. I've got some skulls. What a haul. What a haul that I was not prepared to get. I wasn't prepared for this at all. And with hardly any supplies, maybe a couple planks down in the hull, a few bananas in my pocket, and 0 cannonballs, I scoop up all the loot and I head over to the other side of the island, close near to the actual vendors. I unload everything and I look around and I think, man, I was just trying to get a couple things. It was a good adventure. It didn't feel like it was a long adventure. It didn't feel like it was a short adventure either. But this update has really changed how I play this game. It has made it so much more interesting just to go out, just to try and do maybe like half of a voyage and check a couple shipwrecks. I can't seem to get away from any of these threats, and all these threats definitely have rewards, and the rewards could be anything. They could literally be anything in the game. I think the only thing that you can't get is a box of mysterious secrets. That's the only thing I think you can't get from these things. So if you see these, be prepared. Try and get some cannonballs, try and get some planks, try and get some bananas on your ship, because you never know. You really don't know anymore how things are going to go once you raise that anchor, once you drop that sail. Hands on the helm as you start to turn out of the dock. You just got to be prepared for anything now. All right, so I mentioned I was going to be talking about this. Might as well go into it. Why was I out sailing? What caused me to think that just a few minutes before I was about to sit down and record the podcast, I thought, man, I gotta jump in. I gotta test this out. It's the Overachiever Sales. So last week in the dev update video in the notes, they mentioned that there was going to be sales for those that had completed the achievements in the game, the Overachiever Sales. Now, I don't know what these look like, and I haven't gotten them, but here's the story. Anyone that completed grade 5 of different achievements, and I'll list the achievements so you know which ones to go for, but anyone that completed any of them by December 14th would unlock the criteria to be able to receive the Overachiever Sales. So I am still sort of foggy on how this works, which is why I went out sailing, because I wanted to see if there was some sort of indication on whether or not I had already gotten these, or I was going to get them, or I hit something that unlocked that told me that I was going to get them. I didn't. There's no confirmation that I'm going to be getting these. So over on the Rare forums, I followed a couple links, and thank you to Tri-Headed Monkey for being able to clarify a couple things for people. But mostly, Sonic Bob came out, and I'm just going to read an excerpt from the forum post. He says, players that complete any of the newly rebalanced achievements in their new unlock criteria by December 14th will earn the Overachiever Sales. Any player who was close to completing the original unlock criteria will only have to hand in one item to tick them over and unlock the achievement. For clarity, the newly balanced achievements are Black Powder Merchant, Merchant Voyager, Merchant Forager, Voyager of Lost Souls, Golden Voyager, Hoarder of the Barnacled Gold, Hoarder of the Captain's Gold, Master Hunter of Villainous Skulls. We feel this is the right step to inform players of our plans and give you the opportunity to unlock these unique sales, quote unquote. What that means is they have gone and rebalanced some of the achievements in the game to make them easier to achieve. Now, if you've already achieved these, all you have to do is turn in one of those things, whether it be buying a voyage, turning in a powder keg on time, turning in a barnacled chest, turning in a captain's chest, turning in a villainous skull, sailing, buying gold hoarder voyages. Those are the main things like that you have to do at least once between now and the 14th. So I'm hoping those of you who've maybe stepped away from the game for a little bit are coming back before the 14th to do this, to make sure that you get the criteria, because what they're going to do on the 14th is they're going to go back and they're going to take a look at anyone that was close or anyone that had achieved that as making sure that the criteria is met, and then their customer service team is going to be getting in touch with them, probably through email with a code that you put into the Microsoft store through the redeem codes portion to get your Overachiever sales. Now, not all of that is confirmed. A lot of it is just me speculating on how it's going to work. That's just how it's worked in the past. So if you are playing, or if you're not playing, and you have some of these grade 5 achievements unlocked already, make sure you go in by the 14th and make sure that you do at least one thing from one of them. It doesn't matter which one it seems like. It seems like you can complete any of the new rebalanced achievements in their new unlock criteria. And that will give you the opportunity to get the Overachiever sales. Now, I don't know what these look like. Obviously, I mentioned that earlier. But if you're one of those people that likes to collect everything like I am from time to time, I want to make sure that I get these somehow. And this is going to be the way that I did it. So I went out just before recording, and I did at least 3 of these. I got the powder keg, I got the sunken chest, and I got the captain's chest. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. You can always email me too at CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com. And I also recommend going over to the Sea of Thieves forums. I'm going to have a link to this post in the show notes, so you can always refer to this episode 45, to get the forum link where Sonic Bob talks about this, as well as some of the other deckhands who kind of clarify some of the stuff. In fact, I think Tri-Headed Monkey basically broke it down. The Black Powder Merchant requires you to deliver 100 powder kegs delivered on time. The Merchant Voyager is buying 250 Merchant Alliance voyages. The Merchant Forager is delivering 50 banana crates on time. The Voyager of the Lost Souls is buying 250 Order of Souls voyages. The Golden Voyager is buying 250 Gold Hoarder voyages. The Hoarder of the Barnacle Gold is turning in 300 shipwrecked chests. The Hoarder of the Captain's Gold is turning 360 Captain's chests in. The Master Hunter of the Villainous Skulls is turning in 360 Villainous Skulls. You guys need to go into your reputation panes for the different trade companies. Take a look at these. See if you're close to grade 5, or see if you've already achieved grade 5 in some of these. And if you have, make sure you do one more. If you haven't, try and get it before December 14th. All right, so getting back to kind of the dev update video, they go in to talk about the Bone Crusher cannon. And I wanted to talk about this because I have the Bone Crusher cannon cosmetics. Yeah, cosmetics. That's what I'm looking for. And just to kind of touch on this, there has been some good feedback regarding the design of the Bone Crusher cannon customizations. And you're probably, if you haven't gone out to the Devil's Roar, these are over at Morrow's Outpost. So you go over to Morrow's Outpost and you talk to the ship right there, and you'll see the Kraken, the Ocean Crawler, and then the Bone Crusher customizations for the capstans, the cannons, and the wheel. So these are locked behind some of the new achievements in the game. You'll have to go out and actually complete these. And then once they're available, you can pretty much get them. In fact, I think the first one that you can get is the Bone Crusher cannon, which is what brought up some of this different feedback. Basically, there's a large peak at the top of the cannon that really hinders your line of sight, your level, to be able to tell how high your cannon actually is aiming. So it looks like they've gone in and actually fixed this for a future update. This isn't something that's going to be live now. This is probably something that's going to be held off until they update the game, which is most likely going to be in January. The reason I say this is because in the dev update video, Joe talks about how the Whaling Barnacle set is available till the end of the year. And the only reason it wouldn't be sooner is because they would be putting in some sort of new update, a new build rat update. So I'm sorry to say this, I don't think we're getting any kind of build rat update for the holidays. But we do know that there is going to be an update coming around the beginning of the year. We're not sure when, probably when they get back from doing everything that they're doing. And it will probably be a build rat adventure. What it is, we don't actually know, but we know that they are planning on testing a new build rat adventure as well as the arena to the Pioneers soon. One of the interesting things that is kind of goes into the stuff found on Crew of Thieves. Now, the Crew of Thieves have been data mining for a while, and they've been posting their stuff on their website. And I'll have a link to this as well in the show notes, so you can actually go over and take a look at these if you want. This is going to be considered spoilery stuff, so if you want, I will set a timer on my phone as I'm trying to do this right. Why do I always do this like right now? So I'm going to give myself 4 minutes to get through this. Starting now. Okay, hopefully you had time to pause. 4 minutes is ticking, so I'm gonna try and cover this beforehand. Hopefully you can just skip forward 4 minutes if you don't want to listen to it. But I'm already wasting 15 seconds just talking about that. So in the Crew of Thieves stuff, they have uncovered some of the stuff, and I talked a little bit about this before, but to kind of go over it, I wanted to add some more detail to it now that we're getting a little bit closer to when I think this is going to be coming out. One of the sets on there is the rose set, and it has a man holding a banjo or mandolin, some sort of guitar style instrument, and he's got a rose in his mouth. His eyes are closed. He's got swept back hair, a rose tattoo on his shoulder, and he's got roses kind of round. This is a figurehead, and they show off textures for the sails as far as like the different colors that they're going to be using, as well as some emblems and stuff that are going to be on them. So it'll be like a red and a brown, and it'll have a red rose crest on it, and then they've got like the rose flag. So that set is what I think might be coming in with a build rat update soon. I don't know what it's going to be focused around because it's a very obscure thing. A lot of people think it might be dealing with Valentine's Day, but even then it's hard to tell for sure what's going to be coming. With the next one, we're getting what looks to be a Banjo-Kazooie Bird and the Bear motif. It's got the bird flag. It's got the bear and banjo and Kazooie above banjo, and they're kind of Sea of Thieves. What am I trying to say here? The paint. What are those called? The wall paintings on one of the islands has this out there. Anyway, skipping forward, it looks like they're finally going to be giving us the sea monster sails, the ones that have been in the game or been in videos for the game since well before the game actually launched. We saw these. In fact, they're in the art book. I think we might finally be getting those in the game. It looks like they put them into the system. There's also an ivory motif, and the ivory motif is interesting too because it's white and gold with a red diamond-shaped. I can't even describe it. It looks like a flower, but it's hard to say for sure what it is. And then we're getting a creator sales, and this they're saying that this is very interesting set because like the streamer flag is part of the same set, hinting that this is for content creators. We're excited to hear more about this set, and it's a fiery bird holding a rare emblemed scroll, and the bird is on fire. It's a really beautiful set so far. It's got some gold and some blue and white sails, and I think I'm in love with it already. Hopefully, I am warranting of this. I don't know what content creators or streamers mean. I mean, I am a streamer of Sea of Thieves, so hopefully I get these. I don't know. And then there's the Pioneer set. The Pioneer set looks like it's going to be for those pioneers, the ones that are out there testing it. It's a white and a steel gray color with the Pioneer decal, the one that you can find on some of the different things in the world. And they have like a full figurehead that actually has like a bird with its wings stretch out with a necklace of the medallion that the pioneers have on their forum icons and stuff. It looks beautiful. I hope that I can have some friends come in and show it to me so I can get some photos of it. And that I think is going to do it for that's going to do it for the spoiler stuff. I got 10 seconds left, so not too bad. Hopefully, if you're listening to this now, welcome back. It was a little sooner than the actual like 4 minutes, but if you feel like you want to get spoiled on that, you're always welcome to go back and listen to it later on. The stuff I talked about, we have no time frame on it, so when it comes out, I'll probably mention it in the episode that that stuff actually comes out for. Moving on. All right, next thing I want to cover in the docket deals with streamers making a return to Sea of Thieves. This update has been amazing. It's brought a lot more activity onto the servers, and as a result, there's been a lot more PvP. So some of the bigger streamers out there have decided that they want to come back to actually do some streaming of the game, because while they love it, it's not necessarily something that a lot of people want to watch on a regular basis, because it's just not as exciting as, say, some of the Battle Royale stuff out there. Now, I understand that the variety streamers have to keep people interested in stuff that's coming up out of nowhere, but I have to commemorate all, or not commemorate, I have to congratulate all the streamers that stream Sea of Thieves on a constant, regular basis, even though they know that they could probably get more people interested by sharing or by playing other games that are more recently released. And having some of the big streamers come back is great, because it definitely brings a light to the fact that this game has had a big update, and that big update is partly due to the actual community. So for the community, thank you guys for being there, for helping Rare with this, by sharing our feedback, by talking about what we like, what we don't like, what we'd like to have changed, and things that we can add to the game to help it make it more interesting. They've really come out with an awesome update that actually brings some of the bigger streamers back, even though they could be playing something like Red Dead Redemption, Smash Brothers. They could be playing a host full of games that are on their backlog and stuff, and having people see Sea of Thieves. That's a weird way to say that. Having people come back and viewing Sea of Thieves after it's been out for a while, to see how much more exciting it is now with all the different things attacking you in the world, is great for the game. I think it's going to bring a lot more people in, especially with this season. This is the first holiday season that Sea of Thieves is having, and a lot of people are going to be picking up Xboxes, and the best way that people can enjoy a new Xbox without having to buy a ton of games is through the Gamer Pass, and Sea of Thieves is on that list. It is one of the first party games to be released day one on the Game Pass. And you can definitely, if you have friends that play Xbox with you, or even some PC friends that you want to join in, the Xbox Game Pass is still a great way for people to enjoy this game and get a taste of it. And this is probably the best time to bring them in. So I'm going to let you guys know right now, if you have people that were kind of hesitant to play this game when they first joined up, because they didn't like the fact that there was a lot of downtime between voyages and just going to islands, get them in now. Get them a Game Pass. Tell them to jump back in. They're going to have fun. And play with other people too. I've seen a lot of people out there that are sailing around that are new to the game and on a sloop and completely fresh, never played the game. And I think that's great if you're trying to learn stuff on your own. If you're one of those types of people that can learn on your own and you don't feel overwhelmed by just not having anyone to talk to, great. There's definitely a market out there for you. For the people in the solo sleeping world. But if you're joining this game, join a community, join my community, join other communities, join a community. There's a Discord for Rare. There are plenty of Xbox clubs out there. I would definitely recommend jumping into some of the fleets, as well as some of the content creators' chat rooms, to join their Discords as well, just to have people to sail with that are in a community, because the communities are going to be a lot more tight-knit and supportive than just joining into Open Crew. Open Crew is fine if you're trying to, I don't even know why. I meet new people in Open Crew, but it's not always the most friendly experience. And sometimes you have four people with their own idea of what they want to do in a game, and instead of going solo, they jump in Open Crew and tend to try and control the group. And that's how you get a lot of animosity, a lot of anger, and a lot of people trying to push other people around. And that's not always a good way for someone to learn the game. Sometimes it's good for them to have people that are positive and supportive and are willing to take time to teach people how to play the game and stuff. So I would highly recommend, if you have friends that want to play, or if you're brand new and you're just learning about the game, maybe you wanted to find out about what this game is about, and you looked into podcasts and found mine. Thank you, for one. If you're new and you're listening to the podcast, welcome. I have a Discord server. It is full of the best people in the world who are constantly out there sailing with other people, trying to get everyone to Pirate Legend, trying to get everyone to Athena's 10. If you don't even know what that means, don't worry about it. We'll teach you. So join the Discord, join someone's Discord, and get out there and get sailing, because now's a great time to do it. So talking about my next point, with content creators, with the game getting a fresh new set of sailors in there, I wanted to bring to attention one of the other content creators out there, and that's Captain Falcore. Now, anyone that's been playing the game and keeps up with the news or listens to me or watches YouTube already knows that Captain Falcore is been really committed to putting out content, funny content for people for Sea of Thieves, and he's done a great job of making a new video dedicated to teaching new sailors how to solo sloop. And now, it doesn't go into much detail with everything, but it covers the base groundwork for a lot of stuff that will help people who are jumping into the game and want to give themselves some time to figure stuff out with someone else, without someone else barking orders at them. So I'm going to put his video link in the show notes if you'd like to watch it, and that way hopefully you'll get a chance to see some of the things that you should know going into the game fresh. If you've already been sailing or you sail with other people, this information may still have a couple things that are interesting, but it's going to be more overview of how to play and things to know going in, as opposed to tips and tricks as far as how you can outmaneuver a galleon and a sloop, or how you could, well, actually there is a little bit of that, but for example, he talks about sailing into the wind with a sloop against a galleon or a brig. That way you can outsail them. If you're doing that, a great thing you can do is jump off the side of the ship and swim towards their ship and try and board their ladder, drop their anchor, and try and kill them if possible, or get up into the crow's nest to see if they have any powder kegs. One of the parts in the video, he talks about putting powder kegs in the crow's nest. That is a universal choice that most people make with all the powder kegs they get. Almost every single pirate knows at some point in the game, they learn you have to put the powder kegs up in the crow's nest because that is the safest place to get them. So if you board a ship, the best place to go is sometimes up to the crow's nest to see if they have any powder kegs. That way you can grab one, light it, drop it down onto the deck, and hope that they don't grab it and turn it off in time for you to be able to get some damage on their ship. Meanwhile, your ship should hopefully be in a good heading that it's not going to hit anything, so that eventually if you die or if you jump off the ship, you can take a mermaid or the ferry back to your ship without having to run into a rock and deal with hulls and then water. All right, next up on today's docket, let's talk about Rare, because haven't we already? No, what I mean is Rare is back with a podcast. They have always had a podcast, and their podcast has always been roughly updated about once every month to month and a half, with a couple lapses here and there. But for the most part, we've always kind of subscribed and just kind of waited for the next episode. And recently, within, I'd say, the last 3 to 4 months, they've been focusing more heavily on YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, and streaming. Overall, I think that they probably have more interest from their videos that they put out and some of the streams that they do than, say, the podcast. The podcast seems to be one of those few things that is more the diehards, the fans, the ones that stick around because we know that we have a commute and we want to listen to something and not have to feel like we're trying to make sure that our phone doesn't go to sleep or our phone doesn't turn off, or it's not like we're not looking at our phone watching a video or trying to miss out on something that's more visually conveyed than audibly. So we finally got a new episode with the Rare Tales from the Tavern, and it was really good. It had Emma, it had John, it had Joe, it had Craig, and it had, I think, Mike. Oh wow, I just blanked on what his name was. But one of the gentlemen from Microsoft basically sat in and talked about what the state of Sea of Thieves is now. And it was great. It was really nice. It was interesting to hear that Sea of Thieves is one of those games that Microsoft is looking at as still one of the pillar posts in their tent as far as what will be a game that sustains them. Now, as you know, Microsoft has been acquiring a lot of studios. Maybe you don't know. Microsoft has acquired, I think, 6 or 7 studios in the last 6 to 12 months. Which is big because it means a couple things. One, they're gearing up for exclusives, and they're gearing up for a new system. We don't know what the system would be because they just recently put out the X, but it usually means that we're going to be getting a slew of new games over the next couple years once these studios get into full swing with the support of Microsoft. And it leaves people wondering, where does that put games like State of Decay, Sea of Thieves, things like that? With this podcast, it basically announces that they are 100% committed to making sure that Sea of Thieves is got a good future. They went with Phil Spencer to, they basically visited the Rare team, Phil Spencer and I think Mike, to go and basically sit down and check out all the stuff that's coming over the next 6 months. And from what they've said, they're very excited. From what they said, that they are really looking forward to what's going on. And they've even said that some of the studios and Rare have been exchanging thoughts, things they've learned, things that they can teach to other studios and from studios to help progress the game to make it that much better. And I love hearing this commitment from Microsoft that they're fully invested in Sea of Thieves, because this is one of the few games that I would hate to see die before it really has an opportunity to get all of the content that it deserves to get out there. Now, I don't think at any point Rare would ever think that this would be a thing that they want to do. I think they want to produce stuff for this game for a very long time, 10 years. And I think that's amazing to think that this game could go as long as 10 years. Can you guys imagine what would be coming in 10 years? How big would the world have grown? How dense would the NPC population be? Would we get separate servers just for our own pirate fort? I don't know. It seems crazy to think that, in 10 years, we could be seeing so many different biomes. We could have a frost biome. We could have a jungle biome. We could have Asian influenced realms. We can have Spanish influenced realms that cater to those styles of ships and those styles of culture, bringing in some of that stuff that's not so dead in the throes of the Pirates of the Caribbean, giving us some flavor, some change, maybe even a Sea of the Damned, where we go into the Ferry of the Damned and the ferryman takes us to the docks of the ferryman's, like, his lair, who we still don't really know who he is actually working for, if it's the Pirate Lord or not. But there's so much that is possible in this game, and I'm going to talk about something that is fan created, that was Trash Panda reached out to me. He wanted me to share this with you, and I'm going to kind of give an overview of it and then figure out a way that I can link it to you so that you can actually see it. I might have to create a Google link or something that I can actually upload this file to, so you can actually check it out and see it's a PowerPoint. But in 10 years, this game could be so huge. And right now, the biggest things that we're getting are some of the most changing to the actual system. We know that in the future update, we're going to be getting the update after the arena is going to focus more on how voyages work. And in fact, I might as well talk about it right now. I actually guest hosted on the Land Ho podcast. Now, last episode, of course, this always happens. Whenever you say something, someone's going to come out and prove you wrong. That's just generally how it works, especially with content creators, especially with casters, anyone that does any kind of esports. They know as soon as they say someone's going to pick something, they pick something else. So just last episode, I talked about how I was the last Sea of Thieves podcast standing, and I was very happy to hold that torch, but I wasn't necessarily like happy that I was the only one out there. I love having more people out there to garner, because more ears out in the world listening to Sea of Thieves means that there's more potential for people to find my podcast. And Rare, I kind of knew going in a while back, because I'd been bugging John and Emma about this for a bit, about having another episode for the Sea of Thieves podcast, because I just really enjoy it. So we got the new podcast, and that was great. So now I'm not the only one out there. Rare is still producing the podcast, and they're listening to feedback on how people liked this podcast or if it didn't do very well. And then who comes in and asks me to guest on their return episode? Landho. So Mike and Brian come, and they wanted me to guest on there, and I was more than happy to do so. I have a good time talking with them outside of the podcast. Mostly Mike, though. I haven't gotten a chance to really talk with Brian that much, but we sat down and for over an hour just chatted about Sea of Thieves, and it was great. We had a really good time, and I really enjoyed it. We just basically covered all the different things that we liked about the update, as well as a lot of speculation on what they could bring to the game to make it more diverse, as well as our deep feelings on some of the things that could be changed that would make it a more vested interest into, like, the islands, for example. We go into a lot about that. But if you had unsubscribed at some point thinking that their show was dead in the water, shipwrecked, fear not, for they have returned. They've taken the mermaid and garnered themselves a new ship. And as they command the helm for the Land Ho podcast, I would recommend going out and listening to that episode and getting reacquainted with Mike and Brian, because I think they're here to stay. They're one of the few that have been going with me for the long haul. We had Shipwrecks and Shanties, and we had Plundercast for a while, but they died out shortly before the Megalodon. I'm pretty sure the Megalodon ate them. That being said, it's good to have more podcasts out there listening to it. I know that this medium isn't exactly the most popular. I know that YouTube is generally the most popular, and I'm going to see about doing more YouTube content as things go. But as of now, I welcome back Land Ho podcast. I welcome back the Rare Sea of Thieves Tales from the Tavern podcast. It's good to have some friends in the field again. That being said, I think that's going to do it for this section. What else do I wanted to talk about a couple other things. I wanted to talk about the mention from Trash Panda that I want to talk about that update that he came up with, as well as my thoughts on the Shrouded Ghost Meg, which is never around. All right, pirates. So one of the things I did want to touch about, I have been trying to find this ghost Megalodon for a while. I can't find this thing. I've seen some photos, some blurry images, what people say that it is. It's hard to tell. And I'm reaching out to everyone. If you have seen one of these, if you have figured out how you find them, I am basically Ahab right now. I am hunting this white whale. It is crazy. I want this thing dead, and I want to know how I find it. I've been sailing through fog. I've talked to other people that have been doing donuts in fog. No one seems to understand how this thing actually gets spawned. And to be honest, I'm kind of happy about it, because it's one of the few things where generally, most people go out, they do an update, and they're like, well, that was good for a day, and then they don't do anything else. This is the first time I've seen something where it's been put in the game, and it's been so shrouded in mystery. God, I'm not going to apologize for it, though. I'm not going to apologize for that pun. You just take it. You take it and you like that. That was a good one. I'm going to stick by that one. But this has been so shrouded in mystery that no one really understands the mechanics of how to actually find it. It's about as strange and mysterious as the Box of Mysterious Secrets. So we know that the box is found on shore, under the water, around the Devil's Roar, around islands. That was easy. The Meg's different. No one quite knows how to get it. And I'm hoping that someone comes across it and then kind of pays attention to what they were doing around the time that they were doing it, to see if there was anything specific. I thought about maybe using like the song, Merrick's song, to summon it. I don't know if it's something that people have to use. I don't know. Maybe you have to have five people to summon it. Again, maybe that's something you have to do. Maybe it's something where you have to have one of the shark figureheads on, or the shark liveries, to be able to summon it. You need to have something that is like a shark hunter flag. I don't know. I don't know what the circumstances are. I've been testing different things and nothing's worked yet. So I'm hoping that someone out there in the community knows, can share that information with me via Twitter, via email, via a message in a bottle. However you want to do it. Let me know what you think is the way to do it, and I'll try and test it. If I gotta jump off, do 3 circles off of Old Faithful Isle into the water, and then dolphin jump over 2 galleons onto a ghost ship to be able to kill the captain and sink it with my bare hands, I'll try it. I don't think I'll really get that, but if that's what I got to do to find this Megalodon, that's what I got to do to find this Megalodon. And shout out to Big Sheep and Morris Inc. for keeping silent on the little voyage that I joined them for, because I was trying to let them know that I was hunting this thing down, and they kept to their guns. I don't know if Morris knew, but Big Sheep definitely did not bother, or James Thomas, by the way. That's one of the devs I sailed with back in October. Didn't want to say anything about it, and I thank him for that, because I was so tempted to ask him how to do it, but at the same time I love not knowing, and I love kind of trying to work this out as well too. It's an interesting puzzle, and I'm looking forward to finding that answer, even if it means getting the community involved to try and test some different stuff out, which I may do. I may actually have some of the community members try and get together to get an alliance on 2 ships on a server to see if maybe we need to go back to Merrick, and maybe we need to summon this song again and see if we can summon this beast to try and find out how we get it. I'll let you know how that goes next episode if I manage to figure it out. Anyway, moving on. All right, so I wanted to mention this. This is me talking for the Trash Panda V3. He reached out to me on an email, and I wanted to talk about this because he actually emailed me a PowerPoint that was really interesting. It was his idea of an update. Now, a lot of people have ideas. I've definitely shared plenty of ideas about, giant crabs and giant birds, giant rock monsters. I've had plenty of ideas about cannibals and stuff like that, going out there, throwing it out there and saying like, this would be cool if, but he actually came up with a PowerPoint. And I know what you're thinking. If you've already been in a meeting setting and you've had to sit through PowerPoints, why'd it have to be a PowerPoint? This is just his way of doing it. So what he wanted me to do is reach out to the community, those of you who are actually really good at art. He says, unfortunately, I have little or no skill at drawing, so I have simply written down my ideas. If it is possible and you like the ideas I have come up with, could you please put the link to my concept in the show notes, asking if someone could draw them up. If you feel that this is showing too much favoritism, it would be just amazing just to talk about it, the concept I have created, and how you think I could change and improve it. Regards, Trash Panda. Trash Panda, I'm no favoritism towards anyone. Everyone that talks to me about the podcast definitely knows that my favoritism lies with everyone. So that being said, Evil Monkey, I'm saying your name just once to make you happy. And Bodhi Slam as well too. You guys always want me to say your name, so I'm saying your name so that I talked about you. Favoritism. But he basically comes out with this idea that is similar to the Frozen Fang, but is purely around the idea of the ancient claw. And this is with the giant crab. Now, we've been talking about a giant crab for a long time being in the game. There's even mention of it in the Devil's Roar, and he comes up with the whole quest system, the whole work through to get to the giant crab. He talks about 3 different tribes that are out around the different seas, and how you actually have to go defeat them. How it brings in a new type of skeleton, an elite warrior that has a venom-soaked weapon. And he talks about the actual weapon itself and how this weapon would then be something that would actually be available for pirates. And he's talking about a throwing knife, or a knife in general. He says, the Sea of Thieves, the Ancient Claw, sees the addition of the 5th weapon to a pirate's armory, the throwing knife. This weapon can be used in 2 ways: to make small stabbing attacks at close quarters, or as a single-use projectile. Once thrown, the weapon will fall to the ground in front of the target it has hit. The player who threw it can then go and retrieve it. For Xbox players, the controllers are as follows: right trigger equals slash and stab, left trigger equals throw. The X button plus the right trigger is to aim, and the X button is to pick it up, like any object in the game. Bananas lying on a beach, planks, chests, things like that. I think this is really awesome. I think it brings a lot of variety to the game. Like, how would you actually do this? If Skeleton was running off, a lot of us have a shot to be able to shoot, but if it's something that you don't have time to reload, or maybe you just don't like having the sword, or maybe this could be a 3rd weapon that you could actually carry on top of having the sword and pistol combo. I'm not going to take this episode to go into the whole controversy over the double pistol macro. I think it's horrible that people are doing that, especially some of the bigger streamers that have macroed this so that they can basically, I'm going into it, aren't I? Okay, couple minutes. Anyone that's using the Eye of Reach and the flintlock pistol macro, you guys really need to stop. Okay, it's broken. It's not something that's fixed right now. They're trying to work on it. They know it's a problem. If you're doing this to one-shot people, use a blunderbuss. Or just be a real pirate and actually use like an Eye of Reach and a sword. I really can't abide by anyone that does this method. It's cheap. It cheapens the experience. The kill isn't worth it. learn how to do something outside of the scroll wheel macro for that. I really hope that people stop doing this, because it kills the fun of actually having a chance of fighting someone. It takes that away. And just to clear things up too, as far as I know, this hasn't changed, but the way the weapons work is it takes a certain amount of slashes to actually kill a pirate. It's typically 5, as far as I understand it, and the IR reach cannot one-shot someone. Sometimes those hits don't always register on the servers, which is why sometimes you can shoot someone twice and it doesn't actually kill them. They may also be eating a banana, and as long as they eat at least one banana, it will take at least 2 shots from the IR reach to kill someone. You can kill someone with 1 blunderbuss shot if you're close enough. You have to be practically point blank, but it will work. The shots all equal up to 100% damage, as long as they all hit. Okay, and the flintlock pistol's 2 hits, by the way. 2 hits with the flintlock pistol is 100% of your health. Going back to the ancient claw. Sorry, Trash Panda, I didn't mean to go into that weird little rant there, but I feel like that's kind of been on a lot of people's minds lately, and I just wanted to throw a little bit out there about that. People need to stop it, and Rare needs to break it. And you guys should be better pirates than that. That's cheap. Going back to the Ancient Claw, this is really awesome. I think it's great. The quest is basically talking about how there is an NPC out there, Remus, that has kind of stumbled upon the fact that one of the ancient creatures of the world are still lingering around, this giant crab. And he goes out into the center aisle. This is Remus. He's a researcher of the ancients and specializes in replicas. Whilst recreating some ancient writing, he stumbled across the location of the ancient claw's central shrine. He then proceeded to make his way to the shrine's location, the center spire in the middle of the map, and spent several days uncovering the shrine and built a jetty. Once uncovered, he realized the implications. The ancient claw was still out there. Thus, he began telling every pirate who came to the spire about the ancient claw in order to try and get someone willing to stop it. And this kind of goes into having to go fight different tribes to be able to receive keys or relics to basically unlock the next set of progression in the quest. So that basically you'll go out, defeat the 3 different tribes, the Emerald, the Sapphire, and the Ruby tribes. You'll then be gifted a gold relic, and the gold relic must be placed in the hidden master shrine. And then this will summon the ancient claw. And the claw, or the giant crab itself, has its own battle regarding as far as like the giant claws that it has. One of them you can parry with your sword. One of them is going to be stabbed into the ground and then actually does a kind of earthquake shockwave that will blow up nearby explosives and then knock players up into the air. I think that's great. I think we need one of those giant land fights. I think we need something on the land that we can actually beat. I think that'd be great. And he actually goes all into detail as far as the different commendations, how to unlock them, the rewards that they would give, cosmetics as well, and then of course some of the like the figurehead, the liveries, the sails, all of those in the game, basically like how you'd actually achieve those. And some of them are for actually defeating the ancient claw, which after reading some of the fights, some of these fights sound hard. Like the Ruby Tide tribe having to deal with venom-tipped weapons on skeleton elites that are 15 waves long is crazy to have to think about. How would you have to defeat 15 waves of skeletons to be able to finish off that last tribe, to be able to unlock the then boss fight. Man, that just sounds crazy to me, but it's a really good read through. I'm going to find a way to post this. I'm probably going to put it into the Discord as a link, and then I'll probably put that link to that channel in the actual show notes. So that should be a separate link from the Discord, and it will probably be available through there. I think that's going to be the easiest way that everyone gets a chance to see it in Discord, as well as in there. And if you don't have Discord and you just want to look at it, let me know. I'll see if I can put it on Google Drive somewhere so that I can host it and have a public link for that as well too. I haven't quite work that out. I might actually take the PowerPoint and turn it into a YouTube later on in this week, so people get a chance to actually check it out. So that's it. Thank you, Trash Panda. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I've actually had a couple ideas for creators content to kind of do out there as well that I've been thinking about, that Rare has said that they haven't said that they're going to do this, but I haven't gotten any indication that they plan on doing it. So I may actually end up taking that idea and doing it myself. I think that's it, guys. Oh, no. I'm sorry. There have been some great stories. So let's get into First Mate's Log.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all across the sea, not a kraken was stirring. 'Twas quiet as can be. The Megalodon was resting down in the deep, its hunger now slated from some poor fleet. And I at the wheel and me crew down below had just gathered treasures of Athena's green glow. When up in the crow's nest I heard such a clatter, I yelled to me crewman to see what's the matter. "A ship!" he declared. "It's hot on our tail!" I roused up the men and ordered drop sail. We gathered ourselves to defend our chest that we'd labored all night on in this fair quest. The world against us and the wind following kind, I turned me shoulder to see the vessel behind. Its hull was all red, with glowing white trim, and its lanterns flickered red and green on a whim. The color of the sails matched that of the lights, and its crew was grogged up and ready for a fight. The commander dressed in scarlet with tassels to and fro, and a peg leg that was carved out of rare mistletoe. His ship came upon us, so silent and quick, I knew right away, must be Captain Nick. A full round of shot he put in our side, with a baluster ball setting us low on the ride. "Buckets and boards!" I yelled, from the helm as it were, just as an anchor ball struck us true on our stern. Our patchwork was done as fast as a zip, as Captain Nick sent boarders by name to our ship. "Go Logun, and Monkey, be Walden and pack. Now Mina, now Redbeard, Miguila and Tack. To the top of their crow's nest, to the bottom of their hull, bring me their treasure and capture it all." Me crew and I knew we were lucky to live, as we watched our gold taken at point of a shiv. A wealthy old captain this Nick was, I gazed, clearly a pirate with new and interesting ways of gathering treasure like our skulls, chest, and loot, and of course our grand Athena's, the prize of their pursuit. As they returned to their ship with our treasure in tow, I heard him declare, "Merry Christmas, ye scallywags! Yo ho ho!"
All right, pirates, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Jorvik's First Mate Log. Obviously, Jorvik is a great audio producer. I think it basically does it for his actual job, which is why his stuff always sounds so great. But that is not all. We also have some great First Mates Log that I'm gonna read through. The first one, I'm gonna do this one, and I'll save the other one for next week. That way, there's something good to talk about as well. But this one comes to us this week from Super Pack, who put it in late on the 1st. And he says, "Sailed with Crossco on a sloop, and though we had a gold hoarder down, we started out doing some message in a bottle quests. Did 2 of those, and we headed off to the wilds for our quote-unquote real voyage. A skelly ship emerged from the depths right next to us, and we battled and sunk it. Turned in that loot, so we didn't lose anything, and seeing 2 skull forts go down as we sailed indicated maybe this was a hostile server. Plundered a shipwreck and brought the spoils aboard. We head for another skelly ship, but his time. The crew used a bunch of cursed cannonballs, and the combo of that and enough holes put us in the drink. Luckily, we had a rowboat, and we loaded our shipwreck spoils aboard. As Crossco went back for the ship, I rowed to Devil's Ridge. From there, we did another shipwreck, and as we headed again towards the wilds, a meg appeared. This time, a green lady. We engaged the perilous fish and came out victorious. We loaded the spoils aboard and again cashed in / restocked, this time at Ancient Spire. From there, we headed to Shipwreck Bay for the first X marks the spot map on our gold hoarder voyage. While we were on island, Another skeleton ship cruised over, stopping very close to the island. Crossco attempted a boarding operation as I dug up our final chest on the island, a chest of sorrows. A new plan hatched. We shall deliver the chest of sorrows to the skeleton ship and let the baby sink our bony enemies. We set sail, and Crossco boarded their rickety ship, delivering the crying chest inside their watercraft. I gave them a few cannon shots, but it was not long before the skellies were sunk, leaving behind our crying chest and some other spoils as well. We headed to Galleon's grave to cash in, but a Reaper Mark sloop was parked there, so we diverted towards Daggertooth. The Reaper's Mark gave chase, and I looped around Daggertooth while Crossco cashed our chest of sorrows in. Crossco also asked our pursuers what they were up to. They were a friendly team who mistook our ship for a skeleton ship. We were docked in the whaling barnacle gear and were running blue lights on a ship, you see. He bid them adieu and rejoined me on the sloop, and we cashed in at Galleon's grave. Quite a lot of activity and loot for just about 2 hours of the game, and only one of the islands we did was actually part of the voyage. Crossco, Super Pack, thank you very much. If you don't know, Super Pack is actually Chris Johnson from the Player One podcast. Still one of the best podcasts out there for general gaming news. In fact, they release an episode every week and are way longer than I they've been doing this a lot longer than I have, so theirs is a really good one to listen to if you haven't already. Congratulations on your guys' loot. I've noticed the same thing as well. I seem to put down a voyage, but it never gets done, and in fact I still end up with a fair amount of loot by the end of the night. Maybe it's time we stop putting down voyages and we just start sailing. Maybe the thing that was supposed to get us out onto the sea is no longer necessary. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. All right, pirates. It's that time again. I've hit that mark, and I'm thinking it's time to end another episode of Keelhauled Podcast. This has been episode 45 of the Sea of Thieves Focus podcast. If you're brand new listening, this is a weekly stream or weekly episode. I do this every Sunday, and it usually goes out sometime early Monday morning after I've done editing it / falling asleep on the couch. That being said, if you want to get a hold of me, there's plenty of ways to do it. The best way is going to be on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. You can also reach me by email at CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com. I also stream from time to time. When I get a chance and I'm not doing finals or working, I actually get to stream on Twitch my own adventures at CAPT_LOGUN over at Twitch. Just look for me over there. I'm sure you'll find me, and then you'll see how irregular I end up actually sailing. It's not as much as I'd like to, unfortunately. And if you want to sail with me, there's a few ways you can do it. You can always reach out to me on the Xbox app at CAPTAINLOGUN is my gamer tag. I don't get a chance to sail with everyone, and I always have folks that want to sail with me, and I don't unfortunately get the chance to do so. But hang in there. There's plenty of time to sail, and I don't think this game's going anywhere anytime soon. So one of these days, we'll definitely do it. Until then, I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.